Welcome back. In previous video I have given some information about this course as well as the syllabus of first semester and also briefly described the syllabus of first unit conservation laws. Now in this class I am going to start the syllabus. So this chapter is related to mechanics. Before going to steps into the syllabus, just I am going to explain briefly the basic laws of mechanics. Those basic laws of mechanics are stated by Newton's, so that we call it as Newton's laws of motions. Newton states three laws of motions that we call it as first law, second law and third law. The first law, we say that law of inertia. The first law is law of inertia. The statement of this law is a body must continue in its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless acted upon by an external force. The meaning is, if the object is at rest, this object is at rest, then it remains at rest only until you are going to apply some external force. Then it starts moving, or it may change its directions. And one more is, if it is in a motion in a straight line, now to change its direction or to stop this, we have to apply some external force on this object, then only we can stop this. Okay. So that the body, if it is at rest, it remains at rest. If it is moving in a straight line, it is moving along a straight line only unless acted upon by some external forces. Then second law, the second law is important. That law we call it as law of force. Okay, law of force. This law gives about force. The statement is, the rate of change of momentum is proportional to impressed force and takes place in the direction of the force. Here two terms are important. One is rate of change of momentum and the impressed force. These two are directly proportional. If one changes, another one is also directly changes, and that takes place in the direction of the force. In which direction you are going to apply the force, in that direction the momentum takes place. So mathematically we can write this as F is equal to F. What is F? F is force. So force is equal to rate of change of momentum. Change of momentum is dp. Rate of change of means it is with respect to time. For that I am writing dt. So this is the second law. I am going to try to write this in another form. F is equal to d by dt. What is p? P is momentum. Mathematically we can write this momentum as mass into velocity. Okay. Velocity is also vector. So then force becomes d by dt. M is constant. There is no difference in differentiation of constant term. It is as it is, just a multiply. Then velocity v. Now this becomes m into dv by dt. dv by dt means it is a rate of change of velocity. The rate of change of velocity we define as acceleration. For that f becomes m a bar. What is a? A is acceleration, so that is equal to dv by dt. That means dv by dt is replaced by a. Finally we can write f is equal to m into a. This is another form of second law. Force equal to mass into acceleration. Here also directly proportional to acceleration. Okay. So this is second law. Let's go for the third law. Third law is called action and reaction. This law of action and reaction. The statement is, to every action there is an equal and opposite reactions. Okay. So just take by an example, then it is easy to understand. There is an object here. This object is going to hit or collide to another object. That means this object is going to, I will call this as object 1 and this is object 2. This object is going to hit to this, means this object 1 is going to apply force on second. That I will write it as F12. Okay, sorry, better to write F21, the force on second object by the first object. Then this second object is also impressed force on the first object by the equal amount. Equal amount means by equal amount but in opposite direction. Force is a vector quantity. For that I am going to write this as F12. What is F12? Force on first object of first body by the second body. Then by the third law we can write it as F12 is equal to minus of F21. Okay, what is F12? The force on first body due to second is equal to minus of force on second body due to first body. This minus sign indicates these two are in opposite directions. Both forces are acting in opposite directions and these magnitudes are equals. So this is the third law. Okay. Now actual syllabus starts. Your syllabus starts from linear momentum and conservation of linear momentum. So already once I defined this linear momentum in my previous video. Once again I am going to define this. The linear momentum of body is product of its mass and linear velocity. Here the term linear is there. For that this linear term is there. In that way I am going to define this linear momentum. It is a product of mass and its linear velocity. Here, if m is mass of an object and v is its velocity, then the momentum is represented by letter P. So that is equal to product of mass and its velocity mp. Its unit is, so mass unit is what? It is kg. Velocity is meter per second. For that the unit of linear momentum is kg meter per second. So this is unit of momentum. Okay. So next, using this statement we are going to write a principle, that is principle of conservation of linear momentum. Okay. Conservation of linear momentum. Statement here I am writing. Statement: the total linear momentum of a system of particles, the total linear momentum of particles in absence of action of external forces and only subjected to their mutual interactions. Remains constant. In PVC also you have studied this conservation of momentum. So in the just you define the statement as the total momentum of a system is constant. Now you become a little bit higher educations. For that you have to define this in a broader way. So that is the total linear momentum of particles in absence of external force. If there is an absence of an external forces and that is subjected to only their mutual interactions, so that is remains constant. Okay. So take an example here. There is a system. In this system there are two objects are there. Just I am taking two particles. Here one particle is there and here another particle is there. Now this particle is moving in this directions and it has mass m1 and this object has mass m2. It has velocity v1 and this object is having velocity v2. Now when these two objects are moving, both have some momentums. Okay, that momentum is provided by product of mass and its velocity. So product of mass and velocity, then the momentum is here. The momentum of this particle is m1 v1 and the momentum of this particle is m2 v2. Wherever the object is there, now I am not going to apply any forces to this system. Okay, these two bodies are internal interactions. Now even though if these two particles are going to collide each other, then they may change their directions. Whatever the changes, whatever the direction is there, the whole momentum of this system is remains constant. There is no change in the momentum. So the momentum is m1 v1 plus m2 v2 is constant. Okay. So this is the principle of conservation of linear momentum. And so mathematically here I am defining by using the force term according to Newton's second law. So what is Newton's second law here? It is F equal to dp by dt, that is force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. So here is F is external force. Now here I define this statement as in absence of external force. In absence of external force, here it is, in absence of external force means there is no external force. That external force term is here F. This term now becomes 0. Okay. That means dp by dt, that is rate of change of momentum, is equal to 0. If a derivative of any variable is 0, that indicates the variable is a constant. Okay. If the first derivative of any variable, that variable here is it is p with respect to time, is equal to 0, that indicates p is constant term. That means the momentum does not change, the total momentum does not change at different instant of time. Okay. So this is the law of conservation of linear momentum. Using this principle only we are going to derive different derivations in different frame of references. So keep in mind the rate of change of momentum is equal to force. In absence of external force, the momentum is remains constant. That we call it as law of conservation of linear momentums. Finally, we can say that the total linear momentum of a system in absence of external force, it is remains constant. Okay. So next is center of mass. Center of mass. So what is center of mass? Here center of mass, I am taking a system. So there is a system. This system has different number of particles or objects. This system has different number of particles or object. Now these particles are having different masses. These particles have different masses. The whole mass of the system is, take it as m, and the mass of each particle in small letters I will take it as m1, m2, m3, so like that. Now there is a point in this system, that point represents or assumed to be the whole mass is concentrated at this point only. So that whole mass is equal to m. Whatever the force applying to this system is now can apply to only this center of mass. Okay, so both are same, there is no difference in the effect. That we call it as center of mass. This point we call it as center of mass. In perfect way we define this center of mass as, here I am going to write definition. The motion of system consisting of large number of particles, say n. Okay. The motion of system consisting of large number of particles, say n, there is one point in it which behaves as the entire mass of the system. The entire mass of the system is the sum of masses of all the n individual particles, where concentrated there, and its mass is same as would ensure if external force acting on the system is applied directly to it. Directly to it means directly to the point. So that point we call it as center of mass. So this point we call it as now center of mass. This is the definition of center of mass. Now it is important to write the position of center of mass, then you can write the velocity of center of mass and acceleration of center of mass. In previous video I explained how to write the position vectors in 1 dimension, 2 dimension and 3 dimensions. Now we have to write the position vector of center of mass. Okay. Position vector of center of mass. Okay. Your chapter is all about the center of mass, not individual particles, because there is a reference system is there, center of mass, frame of reference system is there, that is use this concept. Now, so I am going to take a reference system here, coordinate system x, y, z axis. Now there is a system here, there are different number of particles are here. Now I am going to write the position vector of individual particles. Okay, so this is position vector of individual particle. Here one more particle is there, here one more particle is there, okay, here one more particle is there. So these are the position vector of individual particle of a system of particles. Now there is a point in which the whole mass is assumed to be concentrated. That point we call it as center of mass. That point maybe lies here. Every time the center of mass does not lies at the exact midpoint of the object, it is depending on the masses of individual particles. Okay. Now the position vector of center of mass is this one. Okay. This is represented by r, and the individual particle position vector are represented by r1, r2, like that. Small letters represents the position vector of individual particles, capital R represents the position vector of center of mass. Now we can write this as m into r. What is m? This capital M indicates the whole mass of the system, and capital R indicates it is the position vector of center of mass. Okay, is equal to m1. m1 is mass of one particle in a system. Then r1 is position vector of that mass plus m2 r2. Like that we have to add individual particles product mass and coordinate mass and position vector, so on up to n number of particles. So that is m into rn bar. So what is m? So m is the total mass. The total mass is the total mass can be calculated by adding all individual masses m1, m2, m3, so on mn up to n terms. If we add the masses of all individual particles, then we get the total mass of the system. Now this can be written in the form of summation is equal to summation of mk. Summation of mk. What is k? Now k is taken from 1 to n. K is from 1 to n. The summation of mk gives the total mass m. What is mk? Mk is mass of kth particle. Okay. No need to write k only. You can take any letters I, k, j, whatever it is there. So that should be from 1 to n. So the mass is written. The mass of the kth particle is mk. What about the position vector of kth particle? Now rk is position vector of kth particle. Now I am going to write this again, the first expression. In first expression m r bar is there, so I am first writing r bar. Now I am going to take this m into right hand side, then it becomes divided by is equal to m1 r1 bar plus m2 r2 bar plus m3 r3 bar, so on up to mn rn bar, divided by m. What is m? M is summation of all individual particles, that is m1 plus m2 plus m3, so on mn. Okay. Now this term can be written in summation form as summation of mk rk divided by, this whole term can be written as now summation of mk rk, that is again k is from 1 to n, and this term, the sum of all individual particles, the masses, that is mass of all individual particles, now can be written as summation of mk. From this expression we can write summation mk. Finally, what is position vector now? The position vector r bar is equal to summation of mk into rk divided by summation of mk. Here k is from 1 to n. This gives the position vector of center of mass. This gives the position vector of center of mass. So already I said, in 3-dimensional space the position vector can be written as x I cap plus y j cap plus z k cap. So what is the difference between these two? Okay, don't think much. So this is the position vector of center of mass. Now we have to write this x coordinate, y coordinate and z coordinate of this center of mass. Okay. How to write this x, y, z coordinates of the center of mass? Now I am going to try to write the value of r in terms of x, y, z to find the x coordinate variable. So here first I am writing x is equal to, see here this expression, I am considering this expression now. Summation of r bar is equal to m1 r1 bar. Here r is having x I cap, y j cap, z k cap. Similarly this small r1 is also having position vector x1 I cap plus y1 j cap plus z1 k cap. Similarly this r2 and this r3. Now I am going to write the position along x axis of a center of mass. For that I am going to take only this, the unit vector along x axis as well as the magnitude of x axis, so that this expression now becomes m1 x1 bar plus m2 x2 bar plus so on mn xn bar. Okay. Here I am writing, okay, no need to write this, divided by m1 plus m2, it is constant, it is same, m1 plus m2 plus m3. so on mn. Okay, m1 x1, m2 x2. Now the same quantity for different particles. So this can be written in terms of summation of mk xk, that is I equal to k equal to 1 to n, divided by the sum of the masses of all these individual particles is summation of mk. Now this gives the position along x-axis of a center of mass. Similarly, we can write for y-axis and for z-axis. Okay, so how to write for y-axis? Here m1 y1 plus m2 y2 plus so on mn yn divided by m1 plus m2 plus so on mn. So that is in summation form. We can write mk yk divided by summation of mk. And then for z positions it is also same, m1 z1 plus m2 z2 plus so on mn zn divided by m1 plus m2 plus so on plus of mn. So that is equal to summation of mk zk divided by summation of mk. So these are the position along xy z axis of center of mass. Okay, here r represents the position vector of center of mass and xyz indicates the position along xyz axis of a center of mass. Now using this position vector we can write the velocity of center of mass and acceleration of center of mass. Velocity of center of mass. Already we know definition of velocity. The definition of velocity is the rate of change of position. Rate of change of position means we have to differentiate the change in position with respect to time, then it will give the velocity. Now we are writing velocity of center of mass. For that we have to take the position vector of center of mass. For that I am going to consider equation m r bar is equal to m1 r1 bar plus m2 r2 bar plus m3 r3 bar plus so on mn rn bar. So if you differentiate the position vector with respect to time, then we will get the velocity. For that I am differentiating with respect to time of above equations. Then what is the differentiation of this term? M is constant, we have to differentiate r. dr by dt is equal to m1 dr1 bar by dt plus m2 dr2 by dt plus so on mn drn bar by dt. Here r is the position vector, m is the mass. Mass is constant, no need to differentiate with respect to time because the mass is not changing as time changes. For that I am taking it as a constant. But the first derivative of position, that gives velocity. That means dr by dt is velocity. dr by dt is velocity. This velocity is velocity of center of mass. Okay, and dr1 by dt is there, so this I will write it as v1. That indicates velocity of particle of mass m1. Similarly for mass m2, similarly for mass m3, like that. That means dr2 by dt is v2, drn by dt is vm. Now replace this quantity in above equations, then that becomes m into dr by dt is what? It is v is equal to, so m1 as it is, What is dr1 by dt? dr1 by dt is velocity of first particle, so that is v1 plus m2 v2 plus so on mn vn. So now we are going to find the velocity of center of mass. For that, velocity of center of mass is what? It is v bar. V bar is equal to what? m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus so on mn vn divided by capital M. Okay, now write these two in terms of summations. m1 v1 m2, this whole addition becomes summation of mk vk, that is k equal to 1 to n, divided by what is m? M is total mass of the system, that is by summation of mk. So now this gives the velocity of center of mass. Next, acceleration of center of mass. Acceleration of center of mass. Here the acceleration can define in two ways. One by first order derivative and another one is by second order derivative. The first order derivative of velocity is the acceleration. The second order derivative of a position vector is also acceleration, whatever you can take. Now I am going to take this expressions. Which one? This one, based on velocity terms. Okay, this is the equations I am using to define the accelerations. Once again I am writing that m v bar is equal to m1 v1 bar plus m2 v2 bar plus so on mn vn bar. So this is the velocity term. Now the differentiation of velocity, that is rate of change of velocity, is acceleration. Differentiate with respect to time, then that will give accelerations. How to differentiate? Again, m is a constant. Now we have to differentiate velocity. Then m into dv by dt is equal to m1 dv1 by dt plus m2 dv2 by dt plus so on, like that up to nth particle mn into dvn by dt. As we know, the first order derivative of velocity is acceleration. For that dv by dt is what? Acceleration. That is represented by letter A. This acceleration is acceleration of center of mass. This dv by dt is acceleration of center of mass, and dv1 by dt is a1, that is the acceleration of the particle of mass m1, and dv2 by dt is a2, that is the acceleration of a particle of mass m2, so on, like that. Now I am going to replace this expression in terms of accelerations. Then this becomes m into a bar is equal to m1 a1 bar plus m2 a2 bar plus so on mn an bar. Now I have to write the expression for acceleration of center of mass. For that, a bar is equal to m1 a1 plus m2 a2 plus so on mn an divided by capital M. In terms of summations, we can write this as summation of mk ak divided by summation of m. Okay. This gives the acceleration of center of mass. Next, force of center of mass. Force of center of mass. This force can be defined using Newton's second law of motions. So in Newton's second law of motion, F equal to dp by dt, the another form of this expression is F equal to ma. F is equal to ma, mass into accelerations. That one I am writing here. Now mass into acceleration gives force. For that, ma is what? It is force of center of mass, that is equal to m1 a1 plus m2 a2 plus m3 a3 so on mn an. So now this ma is I will take it as F. F is force of center of mass is equal to M1A1 is F1 plus M2A2 is F2 plus so on Fn. Okay. This expression gives the force on center of mass, that is equal to the force on the sum of forces of individual particles. Okay. So this is all about the center of mass, position vector, velocity, acceleration, as well as force on the center of mass. So I am going to stop this class here only. In next video we are going to start from different frame of references, that is laboratory frame of reference and the center of mass frame of reference. Using that concept we are going to study the collisions in both the frame of references. Thank you.